viewer, welcome to our mental health program. My name is Afifu Florida. I am a clinical psychologist and I will be taking you through this 12-part series on mental health awareness and promotion. There is a growing alarm in Kenya over a shocking rise in the number of suicide deaths. Almost 500 people are reported to have killed themselves in the 3 months to July 2021. This is a higher number as compared to the entire number of people that killed themselves in the year 2020. Now, the youngest person to kill himself or herself was a 19-year-old, and the oldest recorded is a 76-year-old. These numbers indicate a marked increase in the rates of suicidal deaths. Other reports by NACADA also indicate that there's an increase in the use and misuse of alcohol and substances. This, together with many more other incidences that are associated with mental health, has enhanced discussions about mental health and wellness. Hope Channel Kenya is joining this discussion, and we are going to bring you a 12-part series on awareness creation and promotion of good mental health. So, what is mental health? Mental health can generally be defined as a state of well-being where one is able to realize their own abilities, able to cope with normal life stressors in a positive way, and able to work productively and make a contribution to the community. Mental health includes our emotional, psychological, and social well-being. It is a positive concept related to our social and emotional well-being as a people and, of course, as a community. It also determines how we handle stress. It affects how we think, affects how we feel, and of course, how we act. Mental health is about wellness rather than illness. And it is not merely enough to say that the absence of mental illness is equated to mental health. One may not be mentally ill, but that does not necessarily mean that they are mentally well. Like physical health, mental health is not fixed. Mental health exists on a range, ranging from positive, healthy functioning at one end and through to a severe symptom of mental conditions. A person's mental health moves back and forth on this continuum in response to different stressors or obstacles. Our mental health directly influences how we think, how we feel, and how we act. It also affects our physical health. The World Health Organization defines mental health as a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, and not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. Wellness Institute proposes a holistic wellness model which has 6 dimensions of wellness. The first one is occupational wellness. How well do you do in terms of work and productivity? How much do you love what you do? The second dimension is a physical wellness, which we can associate with how we feel generally in our bodies. Another dimension is spiritual wellness, how you are connected to a higher being, how our connection and our relationship with God is, and how it impacts our lives. And of course, we have emotional wellness that has to how we feel, how we are able to identify our emotions, and how we respond, or rather, how we show our emotions in a very positive and productive way. And of course, the last of the 6 dimensions is social wellness. This has much to do with our relationships with the people around us, our relationship with ourselves, and our relationships with all the factors that affect us in our environment. The mind is a powerful influence on all these 6 dimensions of holistic wellness. The mind is about mental processes, thoughts, and consciousness. The mind is what is defined as the conscious thinking you that experiences your thoughts. And there is a very strong connection between the mind and the brain, which is a part of our body. A lot of researchers has been done and has established that the relationship between the mind and the body is very intimate. The mind is the character development center. It is in the mind where battles are won and battles are lost. It is also in the mind where the birthplace of beginnings and endings happens. The future happens in our minds before it occurs. And of course, mountains come down and wells spring up in our minds. We are crippled by what we think, and also we are motivated to act and move and feel and relate by what happens within our mind. Our thoughts and imaginations become our actions. Our actions become our habits. And of course, our habits become our character, and characters shape our destinies. And so the mind is a very powerful tool when we talk about mental health. The mind affects the body. Ellen White writes and says that the relationship between the mind and our body is very intimate, that when one is unwell, the other one sympathizes. What does this mean? It therefore means that when we are mentally healthy, our body compensates by having a sense or a feeling of wellness also. When our bodies are ill, our mind sympathizes, and we may get challenges such as anxiety and depression in response to what is happening within our body. And of course, conversely, when we don't have good mental health, then our body may also succumb in various ways. We will see that as we continue in the other areas of this series. The condition of the mind affects the health of our physical system. If the mind is free and happy from our consciences of right doing and a sense of satisfaction in causing happiness to others, it creates a cheerfulness that will react upon the whole system, causing a freer circulation of the blood and a toning up of the entire body. This is to show that we cannot talk about health physically without considering health in our minds. Mental health has a direct influence or is a direct determinant to our physical health. Mental health is often ignored. Many times when we get sick physically, for example, if I have a headache or I have pain in my body or I feel discomfort in any part of my body, I will seek help, either by changing my diet, exercising, consulting with a physician, and perhaps getting medication to deal with that which is not right within my body physically. This rarely is the case when it comes to mental health. Most times, we neglect our mental health simply because we cannot feel the pain in the physical. But let us see, what is the relationship between mental health and physical illness? And is there an aspect of physical illness that is contributed to by a bad status or a poor status of mental health? Being in a good mental health state can keep us from getting ill and can help us prevent serious health conditions. Good mental health can positively affect our physical health. In return, poor mental health can negatively affect our physical health. The relationship between mental health and physical health is more evident in the area of chronic illnesses. Chronic conditions such as diabetes, high blood pressures, arthritis, and many other chronic conditions have their genesis also in the status of mental health. The association between mental health and physical health can be explained in these three dimensions. One, poor mental health is a risk factor for chronic physical conditions. When we have poor mental health, the mechanisms that operate within our bodies are then altered to make us more susceptible to physical illnesses. Another dimension is that people with serious mental health conditions are at risk of experiencing chronic physical conditions. Let's say, for example, if you have a serious mental health condition that causes you to give no attention to your lifestyle, causes you probably to not be in a good position to determine when you're physically ill and need help, that causes you to lack sleep and probably sleep more than is necessary, then most of the time the resultant would be a chronic disease. Of course, the third part is that people with chronic physical conditions are also at risk of developing poor mental health. In what way is this so? When we have a poor mental health, or when we have a poor physical condition, or a poor chronic illness, the stresses that come with our physical conditions affect our mental health. One might develop anxiety as a response to their physical condition. Others may develop depression as a result of their physical condition. And therefore, we cannot ignore the relationship between our mental health and our physical health. In the book Testimonies for the Church, Volume 3, page 184, Ellen White writes and says that sickness originates in the mind. A great deal of sickness which afflicts humanity has its origin in the mind and can only be cured by restoring the mind to health. There are very many more than we can imagine who were sick mentally. And of course, in manuscript releases, she continues and talks about the benefits of a well-nourished brain. And she says, the brain is the organ and instrument of the mind and controls the whole body. In order for the other parts of the system to be healthy, the brain must be healthy. And in order for the brain to be healthy, the blood must be pure. If by correct habits of eating and drinking the blood is kept pure, the brain will be properly nourished. And therefore, we can confidently echo the phrase by the World Health Organization that says, there is no health without mental health. What are the benefits of a good mental health? One, we have already discussed earlier on, that we are more enabled to realize our potentials and pursue the things that we are good at. Good mental health gives us good self-esteem. We have a good concept of ourselves. And so, mostly we trust ourselves with the tasks that otherwise you would feel not very well enabled to do. Good mental health enables us to cope with the stresses of life. We are living in a very difficult season with the COVID-19 and other issues that have come, the economic constraints and the disease burden that is increasing the world over, losses in terms of death, losses in terms of jobs. A lot of stresses come our way. When we are in a good status of mental health, we are able to cope more productively with these life stresses. A good mental health helps us to work productively and make meaningful contributions to our society. Improved moods and clear thinking. We are more able to analytically and critically think through issues, to reason very well, and make responsible decisions. Of course, in relation to physical illness, a good mental health reduces our chances of our risks of depression and chronic illnesses. And of course, it comes with improved relationships When our mental health is right, we relate better with the people in our community. Anxious thoughts marked by a constant worrying, inability to relax, and palpitations. Also, we would suffer moodiness, irritability, feelings of being overwhelmed, disturbed eating habits, sleeping less or sleeping more, social withdrawal, and of course, neglect of our responsibility. Sometimes poor mental health status can lead us to having problems with substances of abuse. It is therefore important that when we talk about health, we consider most importantly the state of our mental health. Good mental health is just as important as good physical health. So how do we maintain our mental health? And this brings us to a discussion about self-care. Self-care is not selfish. Self-care is important for us to keep ourselves in a healthy status so that we are more beneficial to the people around us. We can maintain a good mental health status by ensuring that physically we are well. To keep well physically, we need to observe our diets and nutrition. We need to sleep well, exercise, be able to calm our bodies, and find healing through our hobbies. For example, healing through music. Emotional wellness is also important. Most of the time, we may experience emotions without getting to understand what we are feeling and how are we feeling it and how can we express our emotions. Emotional wellness calls us to be able to identify our emotions by name and also be able to express them in a healthy way. It is helpful to have moments of self-reflection and also self-awareness. Intellectually, let us be more curious in our work, in our studies, be more willing to read and exercise our brain by gaining more knowledge. Of course, spiritually, let us maintain religious practices that are beneficial to us and beneficial to the community around us. It is important to socially interact. We are social beings. Let us endeavor to find the company of friends and family, to be together with the peer groups and also attend social gatherings so that we can relate, interact, and be filled with the warmth that comes through social interactions. And of course, lastly, occupational wellness as a way of maintaining good mental health requires us to find interest and life in what we are doing. We spend so much time at the workplace that we cannot afford to do something we don't like for our entire lives. Though we may do our jobs for monetary advantages, we can also consider being in a field where we are very, very comfortable and happy and derive job satisfaction from what we do. Why is it important to talk about mental health as Christians? We are living in the last days of the history of this world. And we have a duty to prepare ourselves, prepare our families, and the entire world for the second coming of Jesus Christ. The rallying call, "I will go," requires everyone to get out of to the field and work in their different capacities as enabled by the power of God. And in order to be effective, to even rise and go, we need to prepare. In preparations, as we learn from the Bible and also from the spirit of prophecy, we talk about revival and reformation. And health reforms is key to this part of preparation. And as we have already said earlier, there is no health without mental health. And so we need to engage in mental health awareness and promotion as part of the reforms that are necessary for us to rise and go. And this brings us to the end of our segment today. Thank you, viewer, for watching. We look forward to see you next time. Same place, same time.